This episode is brought to you by The Guarantors. Chasing down residents who don't pay their rent is taxing enough. Did you know you could offset the risk of renter default? Meet The Guarantors. They'll requalify your applicants and insure their rent. If the resident doesn't pay, you still get paid. Visit theguarantors.com/multifamily today. Before we get started today, I wanted to give a shout out to Sharon Cawthon and her podcast called 8 Stories. The 8 Stories stands for 8 stories related to multifamily during the course of, let's say, the trailing 7 days. If you had not had the opportunity to listen to 8 Stories, I would encourage you to get over to Apple and or Spotify or wherever you might get your podcast and check out 8 Stories. Today's Multifamily Collective is about tokenized real estate. And I read 2 interesting stories yesterday. One is from, let's see, it's actually a press release from Globe Newswire, and it speaks to a company called Trade Estate Group, which is building I think they've built this already, built a community called Ascend Aventura in Miami. And the tokenization of real estate is basically this. There's an underlying asset called a multifamily building, high-rise or otherwise, and then that asset is used to underlie an investment that is tokenized and or fractionalized so that you could go in as an investor and buy a very small piece of an asset, the underlying asset. So you could spend maybe $1, invest $1 in this asset, or you can invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in an asset. But basically, it opens up a very large investment market where in the past, the only people that could participate in real estate investments like this one are accredited investors where you have net worth of $1 million, or you work in the real estate industry in certain capacities. They're like a list of 9 to 11 things. I feel like the list keeps growing every year that would qualify you as an accredited investor. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the opportunity to invest in assets like this. And I think the tokenization of real estate is opening up an entirely new market. It allows a retail investor, so to speak, to get involved. So you've got this interesting thing with the Trade Estate Group. And this is not new, by the way. I interviewed somebody about, I want to say it was over 2 years ago now here on the Multifamily Collective. I'll try to find that interview and I'll link it up here so you can, it was an early introduction to tokenization. Actually, it wasn't early. It was just my first interview with the concept, with someone that is exercising the concept out in LA. But that being said, I'm going to try to get somebody from the Trade Estate Group onto the podcast so we can unpack the tokenization of real estate a little bit more. And then I read another story about a company called Solana. I think that's how you pronounce it, Solana, in the tokenization of real estate assets. And basically, this is a blockchain. Solana is a blockchain. And so when you tokenize the asset, the underlying asset, you put it out on the blockchain in as way of sort of a chain of custody, if you will. And so if you end up being an investor, becoming an investor in an asset, you're investing in your record is kept on the blockchain. So there is a high level of security and a lot of covered downside risk, if you will, by investing in that way. So anyway, I want to learn more about these 2 particular articles, the people mentioned in these 2 particular articles, Trade Estate Group. I'm trying to get them on the podcast, and then I'm trying to get somebody from Solana to come on the podcast and unpack this topic a little bit more. I've been deeply interested in this for several years now. And I think it is becoming more and more of a mainstay. And I think with the change in the current political landscape, I think you're going to see a lot more activity in this world of cryptocurrency and the blockchain and the tokenization of real estate as we reduce or we right size the regulations related to it. So anyway, more to come on this. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.